Bup, bup. Okay. Trying to figure some stuff out here. Will it show me? Let's see. I'm just gonna I am currently live. I'm trying to get, I know I'm live. I'm trying to get my chat. Okay, finally, I got my chat. Okay. I need to turn down this music because it's really loud in my ears. Let's see. Okay, so I think I have it at the right volume on the stream. I guess I'll have to find out later. I'm at -20. Okay, we're gonna cut this part out. Okay. So, starting off, hello. Welcome to this edition of The 5 Ways. and so on. So today I'm going to be getting into awareness, and this series will probably have, I think, 7 videos, because I did an intro video. There's going to be a video for each one of the 5 ways, and then there's going to be a video on how to actually use it. So all these videos are explanations, and then the final video is going to be kind of a lot more about, okay, how do I actually apply this? And then after that, I'll be creating more produced versions of each video using my live streams, and really, like, making it a little bit more accessible, basically. Okay, so today we're going to get into awareness, and if you're here live, do me a favor and sound off, so I know that I'm not talking to nobody. I'm not going to record. It's already too late. Okay. But yeah, I'm going to go, and people can watch this later. So if you're here live, that's great. I like having people here live, because then they can ask questions live and I can get kind of live feedback. But if you're just listening, that's cool too. So let's get into it. On my screen, I have the graphic that we went through last time. This is just a very broad explanation, lots of words, right? So in the center we have awareness, the circle, and the reason I have it in the center with all of the others around it is because awareness is kind of everything. It's kind of like every part of this is some aspect of awareness, because we are conscious creatures. We are aware. The only reason why we can do anything is because we have some level of awareness. So it's kind of all encompassing, but there's also specifics to it. So we're going to get into that. So what I've done is I've broken it down into 4 main categories, or what I call subtypes. So each of these types of awareness kind of covers the terminology that I've used is not exactly scientific, but it's trying to be close to the research that's out there and kind of the current zeitgeist or understanding of awareness through scientific research. And I haven't done a whole lot of study on the subject of awareness, only insofar as it relates to lucid dreaming. So I might touch on a little bit of research science stuff, but I'm trying to keep it, focused on lucid dreaming. And so it's broken down in terms of how we relate to it through lucid dreaming. Okay, so we have attentional, situational, memory, and criticality. Okay, and I'm looking at them on the screen here. So let me just take this off the screen there, and let's back up just a second and go over the kind of thesis of this, the 5 ways. The idea is basically to have a system that somebody can use to discover the best lucid dreaming practice for them. So there's a lot of techniques out there, but it's hard to know which ones to use. Everybody's asking, what's the best technique? Well, what you should be asking is, what's the best technique for me? And that's kind of the thesis here is, I don't think everybody should be starting with mild and wake back to bed. That's the thing. Like, what's the best thing to do? Mild, wake back to bed. Mild, wake, like everybody's doing that, which is fine, but I don't think it's ideal. Which is why I created this. And I guess, my impetus was mostly because when I learned myself as a kid. And so when I kind of got into the lucid dreaming community as an adult, I felt like the technique approach was misguided, because I felt like it was just narrowing your focus into a specific set of behavior and practice, and which leaves out the possibility of using all these other things that are available. The thing is that most people don't have an orientation to, be that kind of experimenter. And that's kind of what it took for me to learn the way I did, is because I'm that sort of person that experiments with things constantly. And I'm always looking for the new way to do something. I'm always looking for the next thing. And so that was a big part of why I was able to learn the way I learned. So that's kind of the overall thesis. My definition and kind of explanation of awareness goes as follows. It's arguably the single most important aspect of lucid dreaming. And it's also the tool that we use in all aspects of life as a foundation for creating purpose and focusing action. So these are a lot of words, and you could define them in different ways, but for the purpose of this system, we're creating a conceptual framework, basically. And an analogy I use is that awareness is a balance, and we have an active awareness and a passive awareness. And finding a balance between those two is like, I feel like that metaphor is everywhere, but I feel like it's essential to, I really think it's essential to optimizing, like maximizing, just getting the best, getting to that high level of lucid dreaming, and probably anything, honestly. And that's another, aspect that I mentioned in the last one about the 5 ways, is it can be applied to pretty much all of life. But, we're going to focus it in on lucid dreaming. Okay, so let's get into these subtypes. The first one is attentional. Okay, so if we go back to the graphic real quick, the first one is attentional. And this kind of awareness is, think of paying attention. Essentially, you are focusing your awareness on a particular point. There's a lot of studies around this in terms of what we can be aware of with our attentional awareness. It tends to have a limit, right? There's a limit to how much it can take in at any one time. And there's been studies that have found that our brain is actually taking in a lot more information than we are paying attention to. So where we have our attention on a kind of a very small sliver of the overall intake of our brain. And which is amazing, because our brain itself already is designed to limit the amount of information that we take in. I've heard it said, I forget where right now, but there's some researchers that feel one of the primary purposes of the brain is to shut out information that's coming in through the senses. Hey, Skyfall. Thank you for saying hello. It's nice to know that somebody's out there listening live. So when you think about attentional awareness, it's very much like what is in your consciousness, your conscious mind. Like, what are you holding in your mind right now? You're looking at something, you're listening to something, you're touching something. But, when you're sitting in a chair, most of the time that you're sitting in the chair, you don't actually feel your body on the chair, or, you're wearing clothes. You're not feeling your clothes on your body all the time. That'd be kind of probably inefficient and distracting. So that's the type attentional awareness. Okay. So it can't pay attention to everything all at once. It's got to have a focus point. So I like meditation, and I often find there's a lot of parallels between meditation and lucid dreaming, probably because you're using a lot of the same kind of hardware in terms of your brain, and you're using a lot of the same kind of mindset in terms of using awareness. And in meditation, you are taught to focus your attention on what they call an object of awareness. Okay. And the reason why is because you're training your attention. So that's a way that you can train your attention. What you'll find is when you train your attention, you'll find when you're not meditating, you'll start noticing your attention doing things that you didn't notice before. That your attention is being pushed in certain directions unconsciously, that you're not consciously controlling it, right? You start to realize, oh my God, like I'm not actually, something else is pushing me to do this. And a lot of times you'll find this in like emotions, and meditation will start making you more aware of what you're doing because of an emotion that you're experiencing, and you weren't even consciously aware that you were experiencing it. So that's a whole rabbit hole that can go on for a long time. What's up, LG? Thanks for coming by. And so I'm not going to go deeply into that rabbit hole. What I'm going to do is stay focused on lucid dreaming related, right? So this kind of awareness is used, I think, most often in reality checks. That's where we're taking that moment to really gather ourselves and gather our focus and our awareness. And usually, you're hitting a light switch, or you're plugging your nose, or you're doing something where it's focused in, you're focusing your attention on something. I also have wake initiated lucid dream here because the anchor technique and the anchors that people use in the wake initiated lucid dream, a lot of that has to do with focused awareness. Making something the object of your awareness, that would be an anchor, right? So in meditation, the most common object of awareness is breathing, your breath. Okay, so you're holding your attention on the breath, and you got to remember that there's all kinds of things happening outside of your attentional awareness. All of this stuff is happening whether you're aware of it or not. So when you start becoming aware of that, we have this kind of interesting like assumption built in that we're in control, that we have free will. Now, I'm not going to take a stand on that one way or another, but there is a sense we have, whether you think it's real or not, we have a sense of free will. And then a lot of people make the mistake, especially in wake initiated lucid dreaming, that you need to be in control of everything as you fall asleep. But that's not at all. What it is it's resting a piece of your awareness, just a little part, resting a part of your awareness on a particular object of awareness while everything else is happening around you. That's what wild is. So you want to fall asleep. You're going to let yourself fall asleep. But at the same time, you got that little piece focused on something. So that's attentional awareness. I don't want to spend too much time on each one, so I'm going to kind of move through it. That's attentional awareness. I think that's oftentimes what people think of as awareness as a whole, but that's really only a small part of it. Yeah, good old-fashioned state tests. And, at the end of this series, I'm going to go into how we apply each one of these, and reality checks is a big one. So the next subtype is situational awareness. Okay. And the way that I've explained this is it's awareness of space. So a body awareness is a different one. That's under criticality. This is awareness of space, the space around you, spatial awareness. So situational awareness is, okay, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm at, this is what's around me, this is what's happening. You know, that's why I have reality check there, all day awareness, sporadic awareness technique, senses induced lucid dream. So you have like all these different techniques and exercises that use this particular kind of awareness. So it's kind of, our brain creates a model of the world, and this kind of awareness is that piece. The brain has created this model, and you're thinking of, you're kind of, you know, becoming more aware of yourself moving through that space. So you'll start to see through each one of these subtypes here of awareness that they all kind of bleed into one another. Like situational awareness has a lot to do with memory, because it's like, okay, here I am, but that is also related to where you've been, right? So where all along this continuum of where you've been to where you're going, that awareness of space kind of is created through that continuity. And right, so it's like, it's very tied in with all of the other pieces. So I don't really know. I'm trying to think of good ways to like bring this into a real life situation. I think riding your bike is a good one, but I don't think everybody's ridden a bike in the way that I'm talking about. It's kind of a thing where you just know what's happening around you. Like, you know, listening to conversations that are happening around you. There's a certain aspect of attentional awareness that goes into this, because your situational awareness is like, you know, it's there all the time, and then you can pay attention to, right? And the attentional can kind of be applied to each one of the other subtypes. So you can be attentional about your about where you're at in space. You can be attentional about your memory, or the criticality, and we're going to get into that. So it's a little tricky coming up with an example that's specifically only situational awareness, because it's so tied in to all the rest. But hopefully that description suffices. Essentially, it's just an awareness of where you're at in space. The next one is memory. And this is awareness in time. So I think of situational and memory awareness as kind of two sides of the same coin. And I think of criticality, these two bits, awareness of mind, awareness of body, two sides of the same coin. Okay. I just don't have a good name for both situational and memory. I guess like space-time awareness. That might actually work better. So with memory, I call it awareness in time. When we think of space-time, that's what, you know, one of the things about lucid dreaming is it touches on so many topics that we know so little about. Like the brain, you know, number one is the brain. I've heard that the brain is the most complex thing that we've discovered in the universe, maybe even more complex than the universe itself. Which, I mean, that's quite that's quite a statement. But just to say, like, you know, memory is something that we don't understand. Space-time is something we don't understand. We're working with all these terms that are kind of describing something that we don't really understand. So you kind of have to hold yourself in a state of skepticism, right? Because you're suspending judgment. And so when it comes to, you know, applying these concepts to lucid dreaming, we're not gonna be able to drill down all the way to the exact endpoint of how all this works. Okay. But we can use these things as a map, and that will help us kind of calculate, kind of track what we've done, what we're doing, what works, what doesn't work. And that's what this whole thing is about, is figuring out what works. It's at the end of the day, this is about how do we have more lucid dreams and better lucid dreams. I can get off in like a lot of rabbit trails, so I'm really putting a lot of effort into staying focused here, because these subjects are a lot like philosophical, psychological, and you name it. It's a lot of deep waters. So let's get into memory. Memory is maybe the most important aspect of lucid dreaming. It essentially is the best word we have for the cause of lucidity. When you say, okay, well, why did I have a lucid dream? Because I remembered that I'm dreaming. I remembered something, or reality check kicked in, that sort of thing. It's an aspect of memory that causes it. Dream journaling, reality checks. Those are the two main memory-based lucid dreaming exercises, right? And I think everybody knows mild. Laberge's mild, which is based on a mnemonic, which is a memory aspect of memory. I also have all-day awareness, sporadic awareness, and wake back to bed listed, because all of these require memory, are part of that. So memory is such a big deal. It's hard to understate it, hard to kind of summarize it. A lot of times when I talk to people about memory, it's difficult because our culture, at least in America, I think in the West generally, and probably most of the world, values memorization. But the memorization of information, usually in written form. And so that's not exactly the type of awareness that is necessary for lucid dreaming. The type of memory, the type of awareness. Instead of memorizing something and holding information in your mind, the memory that lucid dreaming is using is kind of like remembering to do your chores, remembering to get the right groceries, the right thing at the store, remembering to, remembering to bring something with you somewhere. That kind of, it's memory that's intertwined with your daily life. Okay. I like to think of memory in terms of lucid dreaming as a web. And if all of your daily experiences are points, so a web is like, it's a big spiral, right? And it crosses over kind of the substructure, and you have all these cross sections, like these intersections on the web. So if you think about each one of those points as kind of a memory in your day, when you are using memory in lucid dreaming, what you're attempting to do is influence each one of these points. And if you could imagine each one of those points as like a point of light, and when you kind of do a reality check, you know, as a kind of like if you reality check every time you walk through a door, you reality check every time you show up to school or show up to work, those aspects of your day, kind of those are like intersections, right, on that web, and those become like lights of lucidity. So you can do that with any aspect of awareness, right? Because you're experiencing these aspects of awareness all throughout the day. And so each aspect can be utilized as a lucidity trigger. And I haven't really found an effective way to determine which works best for people. As a, I don't have like a lucidity test, and it'll be like, all right, what kind of person are you? Answer these questions, and this will give you exercises and techniques that are perfect for you. I could probably do that myself one-on-one, but I can't do that like reliably with like a survey. You know what I mean? So, a lot of this needs to be kind of discovered through trial and error, through experimentation. And when it comes to experimentation, the important thing is to only change one thing at a time. So you would, attempt using each aspect of awareness one at a time, and try to control for any other extenuating factors, and narrow down what kind of awareness seems to work for you the most. Because I think everybody's, not only like we all have different qualities, and some people are better at certain kinds of awareness than others. And I think this is most obvious in something like awareness of body, where there's some people that just have better, proprioception, which is like kind of this body awareness. Some people just have it, and some people just don't. And I think that's the same for all aspects of awareness. Like for memory, we're talking about memory. Some people have an eidetic memory, and they can just remember everything. All right, that sounds like a nightmare for me, but like there's that spectrum, right? Each aspect of awareness has a spectrum of frequency, you can call it, where the eidetic is the highest possible frequency of memory. And then you have somebody like who has amnesia or Parkinson's, who has almost zero, right? Yeah, like Wesley Crusher, the geniuses that we know. So memory, I can't understate how important memory is. It is like, if you don't remember, because lucidity is really just like, remembering. If you haven't experienced it, then it's hard to explain. But it's, when you get in the dream and then you realize, oh yeah, I'm dreaming. It's like you remember that, oh right, I'm asleep. I'm dreaming. Okay, here I am. So for some of the lucid dreamers out there, you might be like the word presence, maybe, I think presence has a lot to do with memory. I think in lucid dreams, I didn't put presence on this list because I think it's so wrapped up in, I think it's more of an adjective than, it's describing it's a quality of all these aspects of awareness rather than a than aspect in itself. I mean, I prefer, this criticality is more, presence is kind of wrapped up in criticality. But like I said, all aspects are intertwined. And so presence is kind of an aspect of all. So I'm going to leave memory there for now. I could just keep going on and on and on. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. Stephen LaBerge is famous for, in the lucid dreaming community, is famous for creating maybe the best, most successful, at least, lucid dreaming technique based on memory, based on using a mnemonic technique, which is a very old memory technique. I think a lot of people, just to stay on memory a little longer, a lot of people underestimate the power of memory just in terms of how much you can remember. People tend to assume that they can't remember much, but there are ways of doing it where you're using, tags, keywords, mnemonic techniques, to where you can actually remember incredible amounts of information. I highly recommend looking into mnemonic techniques. There are several different kinds, and I would recommend, trying them out, especially if you're into lucid dreaming. I would, try out a memory palace. It takes, it's all just time, right? It's not effort really, it's just time. Look into a memory palace, look at the method of loci, look at, acronyms, mnemonic phrases, all of that stuff. Okay, so memory is something that it's very complex, it's very important, and it's something that you'll need to learn. But again, I see it as a web where over time you're slowly transforming that entire web into a web of lights of lucidity, right? Because you're transforming every piece of your daily experience into a potential lucidity trigger. All right. So next is, and lastly, it's criticality. Some might say that this is the most important type of awareness for lucidity. You don't necessarily need memory to have lucidity. You don't need to remember your lucid dreams. You don't need to remember your daytime memories in order to have a lucid dream, in order to be lucid. You don't need to remember anything that ever happened to you before this moment in order to have a lucid dream. These can be, lucid dreams can be totally spontaneous. And you also don't need a dream journal. You don't need reality checks. Like I said, each aspect of the 5 ways, if all you had was criticality and confidence, you're good to go. All you really need is one aspect of the 5 ways in order to be successful. So let's get into criticality. I've split it into 2 sections: awareness of mind and awareness of body. And this is essentially what we might call introspection, self-reflection, on the one hand, for awareness of mind. And then for awareness of body, we don't have a lot of good words for that. I think one of the, if you look at like what kind of people are really just, they really need total awareness of their body, right? Like I think of athletes, but there's probably others that, may need even more. Gymnasts, I think, when I think of body awareness and like just total control and awareness of one's body, like gymnastics is probably the peak, right? Like that's the pinnacle, I guess. And I don't know if you can really know what this is like until you experience it. I think the most basic awareness of mind could be expressed through meditation. And that's really just sitting down and focusing your attention on your breath. That's, and there are, I mean, so in Buddhism, they've essentially mapped out stages, levels of growth, development of meditation. So it's not like you can't read about it, but in order to really understand it, you just need to do it yourself. So again, under awareness of mind, I have similar techniques and exercises to previous aspects of awareness. So I guess like if you want to think about these exercises in the reverse, a reality check has aspects of basically all types of awareness. You can, because in a reality check or state test, you're able to use, any aspect of your awareness to, self-reflect, essentially. So criticality might be the closest thing to kind of the idea or concept of a reality check. But the experience of a reality check, how it actually plays out and how it works and interrelates with the other aspects, it's tied into everything. That's, that's why it's one of the number one recommended exercises for lucid dreaming. You get yourself in the habit of being critical, you get yourself in the habit of being self-reflective, and that'll carry over into your dreams. And that's really what lucidity is about, is self-reflection, criticality, and that can give you kind of that little, it's a starting point, right, for lucidity. Then you have to bring your presence into the dream and really totally immerse yourself there in that moment to achieve kind of, to step beyond that initial flash. I think a lot of people struggle getting beyond that point where they're getting lucid and they lose it after 10, 15 seconds. They're getting this flash of awareness. It's triggered, but then it just dissipates immediately. And a lot of people struggle with kind of, you think of it like a candle, they light the flame and then it goes out. Well, how do I light the flame and keep it going? Where's the fuel? What is the fuel to the fire? I know how to start the fire, but I don't have any fuel to keep it going, kind of thing. So awareness of mind, I think, you think of it as your inner monologue, your awareness of your thoughts, the awareness of your emotions, all of this stuff that's happening in our quote unquote mind. And then awareness of body is, where my arm is moving. And a lot of this has to do in relation with situational awareness. So awareness of space is very much related to the awareness of your body. And there's actually some really interesting research in something called embodied cognition, which is kind of gets into this idea that the body needs this space. It needs space in order to function. It defines itself by surroundings, by this kind of soup of reality that we're in. And there's some research I actually read on the Discord recently somebody posted, which is really cool. And it was talking about how the body actually, a spinal cord that is disconnected from the brain is still sending signals for the body to twitch. So like in REM sleep, our body twitches and stuff. And they found that it was actually the spinal cord and not the brain. It was not the brain causing this. It was the body itself was causing, and they found that there was this interaction, this back and forth between the body and the brain. We have this kind of idea that the brain is this dictator that controls everything, and it has just, you know, it is the center controller of all things in our body and everything. But that's not really the case. That's not how it works. So the awareness of body is this kind of play between, you know, our awareness and the rest of reality, kind of what our body's interacting with. And in terms of lucid dreaming, these two aspects of awareness, I think if you're able to master these, and, you know, funny enough, I think the best, I didn't put this in here, but I think maybe the best thing for criticality is actually hypnagogia, because you're exercising awareness of mind and body in a very chaotic state. And if you're actually able to master that, you would probably just be able to master lucidity in general. So there's an author called Robert Moss, and he's got a bunch of wacky ideas, but he's an interesting guy, knows a lot about lucid dreaming, and I really like his approach to lucid dreaming, because he understands the power of narrative, and he understands, he's really good at just like honing in on what works. And in hypnagogia, you know, as you're falling asleep, and you don't have to do this when you fall asleep, you can do this any time of the day, you get yourself into a relaxed state, and you just kind of let your mind go. And as it goes, you just watch it. You just watch what happens. That in itself can be a huge task for most people. Awareness of body can be a lifelong struggle for some people. It may not even be worth it for lucid dreaming. Like, it may not even be worth it if you're not like a physically, you know, embodied, inclined person, then it may not even be worth it to do body awareness related practices for lucid dreaming. Maybe it's, you know, more of a mind thing for you. Maybe criticality is not your thing, and you need to use a different aspect of awareness. Because so many people say, oh my God, criticality is like so powerful and so amazing, and this is the key. Like, this is the key. But maybe some people really suck at it, and they're better at memory stuff or situational awareness. Like, maybe they're better at these other things. Maybe it's even better if they focus on one of the other 5 ways. Like, maybe they need to focus on their intention before they even get into trying to do these like high level awareness exercises and techniques, right? So there was a recent study that came out that showed, it was an at-home study. So they were, you know, they had some people that committed to trying mild and wake back to bed, or just mild without wake back to bed. They had people that were experienced lucid dreamers, people that had never heard of lucid dreaming. Okay. They found that half of the people had a lucid dream. In the group that, was it the group that, I think it was overall, half the people had a lucid dream within 5 weeks. So that doesn't necessarily mean that 100% of people are going to have a lucid dream within 10 weeks. But it's a good indication of kind of what you may expect from, trying to lucid dream over a period of time. For some people, it may take that time to kind of build a foundation first. Some people may have a talent for this and they may pick it up right away. So that's pretty much criticality. You know, I think we'll probably flesh this out a little bit more when we talk about how it works in terms of techniques. And again, when you try to reduce these down into like, you know, how does this actually work? I think it can be useful and interesting, but ultimately it's not very helpful when you're first trying to learn to like get deeply into the definitions and everything. This is more just to create a structure, a conceptual structure, a framework, so that you can evaluate your own ability and then use that evaluation to decide what kind of techniques and exercises would be good for you. Okay, so I got some comments in the chat. I'm sorry for the delay there. I didn't want to interrupt the flow there. Let's see. Sorry, dream journals are not optional for regular lucid dreaming. You can some, but will be once in a while. Let's see. Paisano, I think he meant that you could have lucid dreams, but remembering them, that's a whole other issue. Recall is critical and foundational ability. Okay. So for regular lucid dreaming, technically speaking, dream journals are, well, okay, let me put it this way. Dream journals are always optional. They are not 100% required, technically speaking. So my preferred approach to that is using a mental dream journal. And I believe I have, maybe I took that one down. I had a video on mental dream journal. I may have taken it down because it had my face in it. So maybe I'll bring my face back one day, but today is not the day. So you do not have to dream journal. You do not need to write down your dreams. You do not need to record your dreams. But if you want to have regular lucid dreams, you do need to remember your dreams. And my favorite way is to keep my lucid dreams in my mind, recall them throughout the day, but especially recalling them before I go to sleep the next day. Okay. If I'm recalling dreams before I go to sleep the next day, that will build my recall single-handedly. They may not work for everybody. So for some people, maybe a written dream journal or an audio dream journal is essential, is required. I'm not, the whole reason why I built the 5 ways is because you can't apply the same reasoning to everybody. What do I do for long-term recall? For me, that's mostly irrelevant, but I do record dreams that I enjoy. So now I'm not doing that right now, but when I would, if I'm disciplined and I'm doing stuff on a daily basis, what ends up happening is I record all my dreams on an audio recorder every night. I wake up, I remember my dreams, I recall them throughout the day, and then I play them back to myself before I go to sleep the next night, and I recall them in detail. Then, over time, my recall jumps more and more. I stop recording all of my dreams, but I'm still remembering them when I wake up. I'm still remembering them during the day. I'm still remembering them before I go to sleep the next night. And at that point, I usually just record the dreams that I enjoy. So there's a lot of dreams where it's like, whatever, I was just messing around with dream control a little bit. That was whatever. But there's usually, a couple dreams a week where I'm like, I need to record that one. I want to remember that. So that's what I do with long term. It's like, I definitely will record the ones that I want to remember long term. But the thing is like, my goal is to have regular lucid dreams. So if I can have regular lucid dreams without writing them all down, I'm gonna do that. Like, dream journaling for me is a nightmare. Pardon the pun. That, I mean, like, I just don't do it. I don't write down I don't write dream journals. I do not like written dream journals. I never have. Um, I enjoy going back and reading the entries from the journals that I do have, because I did push through for a long time. And then I finally was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to do something else. And so I got an audio recorder. And then over time, I realized I didn't need that either. Yeah, so for analyzing dreams, that's a whole other ballgame. When I was recording my dreams on a regular basis, like recording all of them, I was doing a lot of dream analysis. Like, I can analyze my dreams now. And here's the other thing, like, over time, if I wanted to, let's put it this way. If I wanted to, what I can do is actually spend, 30 minutes a day just visualizing dreams that I can remember. Okay. So I developed this as a kid because I wasn't writing my dreams down. I developed, or just intuitively, naturally, whatever, developed a mental dream journal where I could remember a lot of dreams. And usually I could remember all my dreams going back a few days. I could remember all of the bigger dreams. And by bigger, I mean like more impactful, more meaningful, more interesting, more crazy, all of the above. Those ones I could remember for like months. And then there were certain dreams where they were like epic or just so deep, so powerful. I could still remember some of those. The thing is at that time, I actually when I was a teenager, I tried to forget all of them because I thought it was like a deception by the devil. And like lucid dreaming was actually like an illusion because of the devil. It's like stupid religious stuff, right? And so I trained myself to forget. I trained myself to eliminate recall. I did that by really loud alarms, waking myself up suddenly. Boom, just suddenly pushing myself out of sleep violently. And going to sleep really tired also helped a lot to forget the dreams. So yeah, I mean, at the time I was able to kind of also sift through my memories using a particular trigger, like a particular emotion. If that was present in multiple dreams, I could remember those dreams. So be like, okay, I'm going to focus on this feeling, and then a bunch of dream memories would come up. I could go into one of those dream memories, look around, wander around, explore it a little bit, go on to something else, use that, and a bunch of other dreams would then come up into my mind, and I could look at those. So that's probably like that's almost like a memory palace kind of way, but not really. It's more like that's more like an association method where and the more you do that, the better it gets, actually. Now that's something that's more like, if it's easy for you to do, that's great. That's more for people that have a talent for visualization and kind of spend a lot of time in their head. I think for most people, that's not the ideal way. But generally speaking, my point with not needing to remember anything to have a lucid dream, my point there was about the nature of lucidity. And I actually wanted to go over this. Hopefully y'all are still with me. there are certain aspects, and maybe I should have started with this, but there's some aspects of awareness and lucid dreaming in general that I read in this book, and I wanted to share just this a couple passages. So this book is called Dream Reader. It was written by Anthony Shafton, State University of New York Press, in 1995. So it's basically a full history of lucid dreaming up until 1995. Like everybody, all the researchers, all the research, it's just a treasure trove. And in this, on this page here, they put together what they call a lucid dreamer profile. And basically, what does it take to be a lucid dreamer? Number one is good dream recall. Okay. The single most powerful predictor of lucidity. Now, this is the most important caveat. What is not clear is whether recalling many dreams actually causes lucidity or if some other factor leads to both. So, memory recall is number one, but it's not necessarily a cause of lucidity. It's the most powerful predictor of lucidity. So somebody who has a lot of recall is going to be the most likely to be the one to get lucids. But that doesn't mean that it's the recall that's causing the lucidity, right? So that's kind of gets to that point I was making, that recall isn't necessary, because it's not causing the lucidity. We don't know what causes lucidity, but we know it's not just recall, because there's plenty of people that have complete and total recall that aren't having lucid dreams, or they may have a lucid dream. You know, I remember I knew people that recalled everything, but they'd only have a lucid dream, you know, once every few months or once a year. Okay. So now for me, I look at that and I say, well, yeah, that's because you're missing intention. So you can have all the recall and awareness in the world, but if you don't have intention to have a lucid dream, you're never going to have regular lucid dreams. Okay. So, that's why Tholi's combined method has been shown to be so effective. His whole thing is reality checks and intention. Reality checks and intention. And it makes sense, because reality checks basically involves all aspects of awareness. And then intention is that other secret ingredient. And those two, honestly, it's awareness and intention are really all you need. The other, I've said this before, you can use any one of the 5 ways to be lucid, but there are, some that we know work for most people better than others. Awareness and intention combined is that. And so mild is awareness and intention combined. That's that you want to know the best technique, it's awareness and intention. But then, well, how do I do that? Right. There's another piece in this book that I wanted to share. And that is criteria of lucidity. And the reason why I wanted to share this is because there is a spectrum of awareness in lucid dreams. This term mere lucidity. Okay. So that's like, you're lucid, but it's like a low level lucid, right? Let me see if I can find this. I believe it's here. No. It's chapter 2. Here it is. Perfect. See if I can get this bigger. Full screen. Whatever. Okay. Not going to get bigger for me. Whatever. Okay, so this is called Levels of Lucid Dreaming. It's in the book Lucid Dreaming Plain and Simple, written by Robert Wagner and Caroline McCready. What's their copyright date? 2015. Okay, so I guess they stole their ideas from. They stole their name, Levels of Lucidity, from Reese. I'm kidding, but Reese Frick Jones. I forget his last name. Levels of Lucidity on YouTube. You can search it. It's interesting. But yeah, this I think is there's a thing I'm trying to get at here, which is basically lucidity and awareness is a spectrum, and there's all kinds of different kinds along that spectrum. And so people will often, get lucid, and then they're trying the same thing they were doing again. They don't get lucid, and they're like, what is going on? I don't understand why this isn't working. In my opinion, it's probably because they're working on a certain aspect of awareness, and the thing they're working on isn't the thing that they needed to work on, but because they're working on this thing, then it helps this other thing. So all the aspects of awareness are tied together. And so if you work on any aspect of them, it's going to have a kind of halo effect or knock-on downstream effect on the other parts of awareness, right? And so you can kind of get tricked into thinking, oh, this is what I'm working on, even though it's actually something else that was improved as a result of your practice. One of the interesting things about Paul Tholey, for me, is he created this really good, really solid technique. He was very experimental, and also really had really high standards. So it says here, Paul Tholey, a German researcher, stipulates that a dream is to be considered lucid if and only if, in addition to being aware of the dream state and controlling the dreamer also recalls one's waking life and is in full command of one's intellectual abilities. Tholey also offered a phenomenological scale of lucidity, which pertains to waking and dreaming. And it includes a level called full lucidity in sleep, at which all dream characters, not just the dream ego, are aware that they're in a dream, and lucidity persists during the entire period of sleep. Okay. So we would, that sounds familiar, right? Sounds a lot like what we might call omni. Okay. Lucidity persists during the entire period of sleep. So Tholey, I don't know if he experienced this himself. All of his stuff is in German, and eventually I'm gonna get it translated. I'm like have AI translate it and read his books. But he clearly had a really high standard for himself, and for others. And I would be really interested to know if he experienced all of this in his own practice, and maybe that's why he produced this criteria, or he's observing this in others. I'd be really interested to know kind of real like where all this criteria is coming from. But clearly there's a spectrum, right? And I think most people that I know that lucid dream never reach that full lucidity in sleep that he's talking about. They never reach lucidity persisting during the entire period of sleep. Even the quote unquote omnis that I know of do not have lucidity through the entire period of sleep. They're lucid in their dreams, but I've never heard of anybody that's lucid in their dreams and in their dreamless sleep. I've heard that from Tibetans. It's very, famously in Tibetan Buddhism. But there's a scale, there is a spectrum of awareness. And so the reason why this matters is because people always look at lucid dreaming as this, I just want to get lucid and then I want to control the dream. Those are the controlling the dream is really, I think, most people's number one priority. However, there's a whole spectrum of experiences of awareness that can assist you in getting lucid. And the reason why this hurts people is because if they don't get lucid, or what they call lucid, their expectation of lucidity, if they don't reach that, then they feel like they've failed. And I think that is one of the main reasons so many people quit or are demotivated or think it's really hard, because they expect to succeed far beyond their abilities. And then when they don't, they get upset. They lose motivation and they quit. I understand most people are not going to pick up a hobby and run with it for the rest of their lives. But I find a lot of false expectations, especially online. You have a lot of content creators that are offering really high expectations for people. Lucid dream today, lucid dream tonight, lucid dream in 3 seconds, 9 seconds, lucid dream while you're awake, while you're asleep, like all this stuff, these really high expectations, and it's totally unrealistic. So I want to do one more thing, and I'm going to go back to comments. So in terms of levels of lucid dreaming, this guy, Ed Kellogg, another kind of, you'll see me, I like the kind of edge of lucid dreaming where it kind of crosses over into spiritual territory and really unusual stuff, because, I'm really interested in the weird and experimentation. So Ed Kellogg is another one of the people that are more on the spiritual side of things, but he also has some really interesting, really cool stuff on lucid dreaming. And so he has kind of this criteria for lucid dreaming that goes pre-lucid, sub-lucid, semi-lucid, lucid, fully lucid, and super lucid. Now, personally, this whole thing sounds like it's based on his personal experience, and that's totally fine. The point, I don't take this scale as gospel. What I look at it as is it's going to set proper expectations. You should not expect to have a lucid dream right away, but you could probably have a really solid pre-lucid, a week or two in. In this example, it says, my horse had 6 legs. This struck me as very strange as I cinched the saddle. So something, bizarre, unusual in your dream, and you notice it, but it's only like a passing kind of, I noticed it, but I didn't do anything about it. So that is, believe it or not, it is an expression of awareness. That confusion, that questioning, like, wait, what? What is that? Like that little, it's like the littlest flash, right? The important thing is to identify it. That's happening. And then where is it happening? Why is it is the horse a dream sign? Is that regularly in my dreams? Do I work with horses? Right. So any experience with horses, I would like dive into that. And anytime I see a horse, I'm going to do a reality check. Right. So the utility of looking at lucid dreams as a continuum means, okay, I'm going to be able to identify this awareness early enough, and then I'm going to be able to take advantage of it. Whereas most people, they're going for that lucid level or fully lucid level, just doing the same thing, banging away on the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, missing all of the signs, pre-lucidity, sub-lucidity, semi-lucidity, just totally ignoring them, missing them entirely, even seeing them as failures, as a negative, like this shouldn't have happened, even though it's a sign of progress. So you see how like somebody could actually be self-sabotaging because of their false expectations. So, you know, back to my original point, there is a spectrum of awareness, and you need to build along that spectrum. And as you're building, there are several aspects of awareness that you can be working on. Maybe you can identify a weakness or a strength, play to your strengths, improve your weaknesses, right? And then build yourself along that spectrum. So again, it's a conceptual structure to help you kind of conceptualize where you're at, self-diagnose, and then decide what is going to improve where you're at, take you to the next level. Okay. All right. So Malice Gaming, I'm sorry I missed your comment. Thank you for watching. If it helps you get better, tell me how. Tell me how you got better. This Google Doc is not shared publicly. I will share it as a guide when it is finished. I still need to flesh out how to apply each aspect, each of the 5 ways. I still need to flesh out all, like, how do you diagnose? How do you set up an action plan? Okay, now I know this is the kind of awareness I'm good at. These are the parts that I'm good at. These are the parts that I'm bad at. Now I need to set up a practice schedule using the exercises that are going to help me the most. So that's what I'm working on right now. That's where I'm at with it. Once that's completed, I will release the Google Doc, and then hopefully maybe like a more accessible guide, because this Google Doc is just going to be a pile of text. When I think of analyzing, I think of recurring dream signs or picking out frequent occurrences, more something for a beginner learning to Ellie to learn more about. Okay, yeah. I think the tricky thing there is, obviously dream journaling is great. But the downside that I see there is that some people advocating for more frequency, more dream recall, may be missing out, because a person may have plenty of content to go on in the dreams that they already have. So then when like with analyzing a dream for dream signs or and so on, ideally, somebody would have somebody to help them out, right, with identifying this stuff, because a beginner oftentimes, I don't know how many times I've done this on Discord now, where somebody will say, I can't find any dream signs. So I'm like, okay, post a dream. They post a dream. I say, okay, this is a dream sign. This could be a dream sign. This could be a dream sign. And they're like, oh yeah, that one shows up sometimes. That one, right? And then also, people tend to think of their dreams literally, where it's like, what is actually happening? What are they seeing? A lot of it's visual for people. What are they experiencing in the dream? If you aren't finding dream signs, start thinking abstractly. Are you getting into situations where you are being chased? Bring in emotions. Are you feeling certain emotions on a regular basis in your dreams? That's something that people don't think about. So when I think of recall, it's like, let's make sure that they're actually being used and analyzed correctly. Yeah, audio recorders are great. Tholi sees dream characters as separate from us. Interesting take, though, not one I subscribe to. Yeah, I'd need to read his thoughts on that, because I could understand like seeing dream characters as separate from us in the same way that you have dream characters that display such a level of awareness that it's indistinguishable from what you would find in other humans, right? And maybe, I don't know if he's using that in a spiritual sense, where like we're creating these realities for real, and they're actually like tiny little, you know, consciousnesses within our mind, something like that. That would be interesting. I don't know if I could get on board with that, but so I see dream characters as aspects of our self, as it were. Our mind is powerful beyond our understanding. I think that us as humans, we still haven't even come close to understanding ourselves. I think our power and ability is far beyond what we understand. And so when we think, you know, and I see this a lot in terms of AI, where it's like, oh yeah, AI is almost there. And it's like, I think people are saying that because they simply don't understand how unique and crazy gifted humans are, you know, in the animal kingdom, at least on Earth. I mean, maybe we're like chump change out in the galaxy, but I mean, here on Earth, it's like, how the hell did we end up like we are? You know, it's like crazy. Like we're just so far beyond basic survival needs. Like, why do we have this brain? Anyway, I see a lot of people setting high expectations and thinking that they failed, especially with getting lucid without vividness or control and thinking that they weren't. Yeah, exactly. Especially that last part, getting lucid without vividness or control. Also, I think the attitude of negativity is so detrimental. There was a line in this Sunni Dream Reader, and each one of these, in the Lucid Dreamer profile, each one of these bits are based on studies. So in the recall, you see reference 158, 159. So then if you go down into the references, I don't actually see. Okay, so that's a single asterisk. However, the correlation of good recall to LD is not confirmed by S. Purcell, A. Moffat, and R. Huffman, 1993, page 227. As for other correlates in the general dream lives of LDers, lucid dreamers, the researchers report that dreams of lucid dreamers as a group score slightly higher than those of non-lucid dreamers in a number of traits. Lucid dreamer dreams tend to be longer, more colorful, more verbal, and more emotional. So, I mean, those are abstract dream signs right there. Are your dreams becoming more colorful? Are they becoming longer? Are they becoming more verbal, more emotional? Those are signs that your awareness is improving, right? So you could use, okay, so I mean, that's, you know, how do I use that as a dream sign or a reality check? Well, you know, I mean, I can't really, if I get into that, it's going to take forever. You could just be, you know, bringing up lucidity, a thought of lucid dreaming when you see colors, or, oh, that's colorful. Oh yeah, lucid dreaming. Am I lucid dreaming? You're in a conversation. Am I lucid dreaming? You feel an emotion. Am I lucid dreaming? You know, there's all these aspects of life can be used for lucid dreaming. Let's see. However, on a different study, different researchers report that the non-lucid dreams of lucid dreamers are actually less vivid than dreams of non-lucid dreamers. Also, lucid dreamers have more nightmares. Lucid dreamers have thin or permeable boundaries. Yeah, that checks out. It's interesting. There are some countering, kind of counter. Some of the studies in here are like kind of contradict each other in ways. Like I think those two things are I don't know. I think non-lucid dreams of lucid dreamers are actually less vivid than dreams of non-lucid dreamers. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's an aspect of intent, because if your intention and your focus is all on lucid dreams, then you're not going to be paying attention to non-lucid dreams. It's like these people that I had met in dream groups where all of their, they had tons of really intense, meaningful non-lucid dreams, but that was their intention, right? Lucid dreamers are all focused on having lucid dreams. Oh, I don't care about my non-lucid dreams, I've heard that a lot, actually. The Discord, people are like, why do I have to dream journal these stupid dreams? I don't care about them. That's funny. But yeah, there was a study that apparently showed that lucid dreamers tend not to be anxious people. That also matches a study using the Big Five personality test that showed that the quality of neurosis only relates to lucid dreaming insofar as its correlation to nightmares. So neurotic people are more likely to have nightmares. People who have nightmares are more likely to have lucid dreams because those nightmares become lucid dreams. But in the long run, actually, neurotic people, actually, that anxiety hurts a lucid dreaming practice. Some of those things you just described from the study, dreams being longer, more colorful, sound like improvements to overall dream recall and remembering dreams. Yeah. Yep. Makes sense that lucid dreamers would be more proficient dream recallers than non-lucid dreamers. Yeah, I think it depends. I think it depends who you're comparing it to. So if you're comparing lucid dreamers to the Gen Pop dreamers, that would make sense. But if you're comparing lucid dreamers to other people that are focused on non-lucids, like people that are intending to have a certain kind of non-lucid dream, like incubation sort of stuff, like I would guess that their dreams are probably on the average more vivid and longer than most lucid dreamers. Yeah, most people don't really remember dreams at all. So that would be like, what's their control group? That would be the thing, because lucid dreamers by default are intending to have lucid dreams, whereas are those non-lucid dreamers in their study, are they intending to have non-lucid dreams with vividness and length and colorful and all that stuff? That would be my question there. So, yeah, and this was in 1995. A lot of these studies, it's important to remember in the lucid dreaming space, in the lucid dreaming research, none of it is methodologically at a high level. In the Stumbries 2012 meta study of all previous lucid dreaming studies, we went over this in our previous video on this series. It shows all the big studies that were done by LaBerge and some other researchers, and it shows that the methodology is primarily flawed in terms of the number of people in the cohort. So you need a certain number of people to be statistically significant for the general population, and there's never been any lucid dreaming studies with enough people to be statistically significant. There have been surveys, though. There have been surveys, lucid dreaming surveys with statistically significant numbers of people. So it's just that those aren't scientific, actual scientific studies with control groups and blah and so on. It's a whole different ballgame. So if you look up, there was a survey done by Denholm Aspie, a lucid dreaming coach from Australia. He got a doctorate from, I think it was University of Adelaide. It's a small university somewhere in Australia. And he did his dissertation was this Facebook survey. So in terms of a dissertation, I mean, Stephen LaBerge's doctoral dissertation was the REM eye movement study, groundbreaking science, completely changed sleep research, completely changed the world. That was his doctoral dissertation. We can't all have those. That level of doctoral dissertation, but a doctoral dissertation being a Facebook survey should tell you something. It was just, basically he was a dream coach, so he had his followers on his Facebook page try out mild and SSILD for 2 weeks. I believe it was 2 weeks. And 50% of the people had a lucid dream. So then he used that to make the claim, these techniques have a 50% chance in 2 weeks. And all you have to do is go to my lucid dreaming course and buy my lucid dreaming course, and you can have a lucid dream in 2 weeks. Scientifically proven. So that kind of irritates me a little bit. But anyway, the methodology of the lucid dreaming research is challenged because there just aren't enough lucid dreamers to be involved typically. But I think that's going to change as technology becomes more accessible and more ergonomic, integrated. Now that we have all these, body monitoring devices, it's going to become easier and easier to do these studies. All right, well, that's pretty much it for today. Let's see. All right, I've been live for an hour and a half. Not bad. I like to see people attaching percentages. Yeah, I mean, if we want to be realistic, a real study, like I mentioned earlier in the live stream, it was 50% of the people were able to have it lucid in 5 weeks. But let's see. I'm going to pull that up real quick. So, I mean, at this point, I'm not really on the 5 ways anymore. I'm kind of rambling, but this is something that I put in my Wake Back to Bed guide, which is available on the Discord. And it was this study right here. Present study with 50 participants in line with previous studies indicates that these techniques are also effective at home, with a lucid dreaming percentage of 18% after wake back to bed nights compared to 6% after non-wake back to bed nights. Of the 10 naive participants who had never had a lucid dream before, 50% experienced at least one lucid dream during the 5-week period. So that, I think, is proper expectations. Half of people unexperienced are going to get one lucid dream within 5 weeks. I think that's a pretty realistic expectation. I know at least 25% of the people watching this live stream are nightly lucid dreamers. It's funny. Yeah, 75% of statistics are inaccurate. Yeah, in terms of expectations, I think people see, oh, wow, I can go into this fantasy and do anything I want. I want to do that. And people are out there saying, you can do it, and you can do it today. You know, like some freaking car salesman. And it's like, that really hurts things, right? Because you have, you know, the biggest YouTube channels for lucid dreaming. The message that's going out there for most people is, you know, this is easy. And it's not. It is not. It doesn't mean, you know, it's some super hard thing that you can never hope to master, not at all. But it takes some work for sure. And it may take more work for some people than others. It will take more work for some people. So at that point, it's kind of a matter of like, well, do you want to just try it out and see what it's like? Or do you want to like get into this and really get serious? Because there's different approaches. All right, I'm gonna cut it there. Thank everybody for coming to the live stream. Hopefully I wasn't blocking my screen there, but thank you for coming to live stream. Thank you for watching if you're watching this later. And next time we're going to be talking about intention. That's number 2, probably in 2 weeks. I'm going to be doing a live stream on intention. And we're going to go through each one over the next couple months: willpower, motivation, expectation, confidence, positivity. And then finally, I'll be putting together a live stream about how to actually diagnose yourself and choose a set of exercises and techniques that could work for you. All right, thanks everybody.